Happy Friday, everyone. This was like the most stressful Friday that could have, this just blew up in a matter of 30 minutes, and I honestly didn't know what to do. I was going to do my computer, I was going to do my camera, I was going to do my phone. I was even asking my mother to help me. You'd let her use her phone. Honestly, I have an iPhone 6, and I just need to upgrade my phone. I'm out of storage. My phone is old. It just likes to shut down. But we're here. We're here. Oh God, we are here finally. Anyway, happy Friday. It is another Friday, thank God. As you can see, I have some great tunes playing in the background, but I'm ultimately here to talk to you guys about, every Hoteps favorite, probably every Hoteps favorite album in the 90s. The Resurrection album by Common, which came out on October 10th, 1994. It was his second studio album, and this, honestly, I can say, if I was a Hotep that went to a HBCU, specifically at Hampton, if I was a Hotep who went to Hampton in the 90s and I really liked Common, I personally would be like, this was the greatest album since sliced bread, because this was a good album. I'm not a huge Common fan. I will say, though, that he's fine. I have no problem admitting that he's fine. He's so fine. And I don't even he's so fine. Anyway, shout out to Angela Rye, Erykah Badu, and Serena Williams, because that man was crafted by God. Anyway, so this album, let's just go into, because I let you guys wait a minute, and this was not how I intended this to go, but I'm glad it's going the way it is, because you guys can view it at any time. You don't even have to check it on my live. You can check it on my feed. But anyway, Resurrection came out in 1994, October 10th, 1994, through Relativity Records. The whole album was produced by none other than the great No ID. If you guys know No ID, he's produced for Brandy, Kanye, Danity Kane. He's worked with Jay Dilla. He produces all of his beats. Common gets all of his beats up until now. Gets all of his beats from No ID. So I think that's pretty cool that they continue to have this, history. Sorry for me looking around. I kind of want this to still look live, but at the same time, it's weird. But anyway, he did this album with No ID, and this is his second studio album. The first one being Can I Borrow a Dollar? The third one being One Day It'll All Make Sense, and lastly, his most famous album, his fourth studio album, Like Water for Chocolate, and that's the album that has The Light on it, which is a beautiful song. But Resurrection has, sorry, I'm just so distracted today. Resurrection has the I Used to Love Her as its single, and also there's another lead single, Resurrection. I wanted to talk about this album because of this song playing in the background. I wanted to talk about this album because on March 26th at 7 p.m., me and at Holly Hit or Miss, Dom Savant, and D Bird of Mo Boombox will be doing our very first I Used to Love Her, the Changing Faces of Hip Hop series, and I'm so excited. It's so ironic that the song is playing in the background, because this is going to be a great and exciting project I prayed on and I slept on, and I got really excited to launch it. And on March 26th, you guys will check us out on Instagram Live. Hopefully I'll have a better phone. And we'll just be talking about everything music, how it's changed over the years, where it's going in this direction, how music streaming has changed the way we listen to music, and even how artists are putting this music out. So I'm really excited to go into that. And that's what this Friday, today, obviously, I wanted to talk about the Resurrection album. And next week I'm going to talk about Like Water for Chocolate, to just lead us up to and get you guys excited for I Used to Love Her, the Changing Faces of Hip Hop. I'm so hyped. Anyway, let's just make this quick and short. Resurrection, like I said, this was like the Hoteps Bible. The way it was structured, and also Common's goal with the way it was structured, was to have this album layout as if it was a book. It was separated in 2 sections, and if you're like a fan of good music, even though this album is pre-good music, if you notice a lot of good music artists, they have the common thing of like different chapters of their albums. Kid Cudi, he has Man on the Moon 1 and 2 and 3 that all are separated in chapters. Common. And this album, Resurrection, is separated in chapters to mimic a book. Kanye West, I want to say College Dropout is also separated in parts or chapters, depending on the artist. So I thought that was pretty cool that Common had followed that, and that he possibly brought that trend to good music, being in that circle of like Chicago rappers, No ID being connected to Chicago producers, and then ultimately Kanye West. It's all full circle. It's all full circle. Anyway, it's divided into 2 sections. It's the East Side Story, which is tracks 1 through 7, and then the West Side Story, which is tracks 8 through 15. And one of the songs on there, Stony Island Avenue, is actually a street that runs through the South Side of Chicago, where Common was born and raised. So this album has like a lot of, well, actually all of his albums have some connection or some type of history with Common and his upbringing. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like I said, I'm not a big Common fan. I may have Electric Circus was like the only album where I'm like, I like it because it had Mary J. Blige, Erykah Badu. It had those prominent artists at the time. I was young, still trying to figure out if I wanted to be like a Badu girl or Beyonce. So still in that era as well. But for Common, I'll be Badu. Anyway, so honestly, and I was surprised by this, knowing that Common is a good artist. This album actually wasn't highly critically acclaimed like Water for Chocolate. The Source labeled this like the number 35 best hip hop album of all time. Oh, well, actually, The Source's 100 best hip hop albums in 1998. So I thought that was pretty cool. But they also gave it 3.5 mics when it first came out. So going back and resurfacing this album, I wonder what they would, how they would rate this album now. I know Pitchfork.com, they do music reviews and they go way, way back. They kind of do like Funkadelic, Parliament, Rose Royce. They do albums from back in the day. So I would like to see if they like revisit this album and review it just to get a different perspective of it, but also to see if Source does the same thing, revisits those projects that they, reviewed years and years ago. But anyway, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. The Resurrection, if you guys didn't know, is also a double entendre. It's using a combination of irony because it is related to the Book of Life, which was something that Common and a lot of other Hoteps have tapped into when they're going through that phase of transition and spirituality. So that's pretty cool too. I can see within a few tracks, like the East Side Story, Resurrection, I Used to Love Her, Watermelon, Book of Life, you can see a lot of that, those double entendres very well into the first part of this album. For example, What We're All Here For, I Used to Love Her, the double entendre, and that was actually a trend for a few artists who were into that. If you guys didn't know, Common's ex-girlfriend Erykah Badu, she did the same thing with Love of My Life, which I didn't know until I was older I heard it as a teenager when I was still in my teen years, not now, but I did not know that was also an ode to like hip-hop, I guess. I guess I only heard the beat, didn't really listen to the words, but I Used to Love Her. That was a song I was kind of already hip to, watching like VH1 Behind the Music and best hip-hop songs. The funny thing is I Used to Love Her, and why I chose that as the upcoming IG Live event's title is because it's still relevant. Like you think back to all the music that you listened to growing up, and this is a timeless song and still is relevant to this day. But if you think about all of the songs that we hear, how music is evolving, you kind of think like, are artists just making it to make it? Are the times changing and getting worse? Are they getting better? What we know as gangster rap is not gangster rap today. What we know about R&B is no longer being titled as R&B. It's like a soul pop. So it's weird how everything is still evolving, and you still have people such as myself who want to continue on and follow what younger people are doing, but at the same time you're struggling because the face of it is just looking bad, and you don't get it, right? And yeah, I just thought it was cool how, like, when thinking of the theme or thinking of what that conversation was going to be, this song came on. I Used to Love Her popped up, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. I Used to Love Her was a very popular song for the acronyms, the meaning behind it. Like I said, the double entendre behind it being that, and also the story behind it. Of course, it's talking about the changing faces of hip hop, but let's also address the fact that this song was Common's way of calling Ice Cube out, talking about, she was with gangster raps, in the gutter, shooting dice in the gutters, and it's just like, how does a guy like Common come for Ice Cube? It's just two different guys. I mean, you know what they say about Chicago, you know what they say about Compton, but it's just like, what, Common? Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people thought the same thing. Like, what? Where did this come from? It's just like Lil Flip and T.I. Where did that beef come from? But that was an ongoing beef for a while, and it's still something I'm struggling to wrap my mind around, especially in a song like I Used to Love Her. It's such a soulful song, but it's so raw. And of course, he's throwing shots at Ice Cube and West Coast rappers and gangster rappers, all with symbolizing a woman and her transitions into life and stuff. So also you can tie that song to feminism, how we feel about women evolving, like how men look at us evolving, and if it's a problem, But that's here nor there. That's a whole other conversation. We could save that for next Women's History Month. But anyway, back to this album. Also, guys, fun fact, this album was inspired by A Tribe Called Quest, the album's Midnight Marauders, which I was listening to today. Boom. And also Blue Lone, Mind State by De La Soul. Around that time, I want to say they call that the Jungle Brothers era. I've heard Hot 97's Angela, Hot 97's host Angela, I might be getting it wrong. She was talking to Nori about this on Drink Champs, and he asked her, what was your favorite era of hip hop? And she talks about, like, the Brothers Soul, Jungle Brothers, that era. So I can see where the inspiration came from that. I'm glad Common, shed light on the fact that he got inspired by other groups instead of, kind of saying, oh, nobody inspired me, this was all me. Like, no, you had some great inspiration, and you can say and be fine with the fact that one of the best groups, trios in hip-hop, A Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul, who are still active, rest in peace Phife Dawg, inspired you for it. So I thought that was pretty cool. To go in another deep dive about, like, some fun facts, and I've listened to this whole album, and I can say I had some songs aside from I Used to Love Her that I enjoyed and never really listened to until today, and a few sleepers. And when I say sleepers, like some songs I slept through during my nap. But you had songs such as actually This Is Me, which are all self-assessing rhymes that reflect Common's growth. If you listen to this album, it's like, wow, he sounds like a young, enlightened Common. Then you listen to Water for Chocolate, and it's like, okay, he's really grown. He's maintained this even playing field of how he goes about his music, but for the most part, it's like, oh, this is cool. Like, he stayed consistent. He stays in his lane. Aside from calling out gangster rappers in the West Coast, he stays in his lane, and I think that's what keeps Common who he is and keeps him going and keeps him relevant. He just stays right there, especially during times where music such as the music that he makes, you can't find it, and when you do, it's more on the underground scene. And like I said, we have Dom Samad, who will be on this IG Live panel, who is from the underground scene, so he'll be able to talk more into it. So I'm excited to get some insight and pull some insight from him and allow him to share that with you all. But aside from This Is Me, the crosser moments that you find in this album are in the song Heidi Ho, which are great greatly toned down from the initial track Resurrection. And of course, then you come in and you have like a thought-provoking chapter 13. When I think of chapter 13, I think of chapter 6 by Kendrick Lamar, which I've been listening to consistently. I've been listening to that for the last couple weeks. I don't know if it's the beat, I don't know if it's the vocals. Yeah, that album was super old. I think it came out before I was in college, but those two are kind of like the same. How I listen to it, Rich Man versus Poor, Chapter 13, Rich Man versus Poor Man. So it just shows you like, yeah, we have these older artists and these older albums, but these newer artists, especially the ones that we call legends or the best rappers alive, like Kendrick, Cole's, Zay's, Lil Wayne, I guess, I don't know, whatever you would regard them as, they go back and pull from those legends, you know. And I would like to know if like these other artists, these newer kids, are going back to like the Waynes, aside from like NBA YoungBoy, Lil Baby, stuff like that. I want to know if like these YouTubers or these TikTokers are going back and referencing back these older artists beyond the Lil Waynes, but like people like not even Andre 3000, Big Boy. So I feel like Big Boy is really he's a little bit better than Andre 3000, but Andre has the style, he has the hype, so of course everybody says, oh yeah, he's the best rapper in Outkast. Actually, Big Boy, he's got it down pat. Ooh, I need to do my hair. Anyway, but for the most part, I did not want to make this long. I just kind of wanted to do this as like a plug for the March 26th event. But I will say I thoroughly enjoyed this album, aside from the I Used to Love Her single that is the inspiration behind the March 26th event. I truly enjoyed this album. I often think like, I try to put myself in the shoes of a first-time listener from the time this came out versus someone who's listening in 2021 or in 2019, 2018, trying to see like, okay, more than likely they were listening to this on CDs and heard it on the radio and heard it on cassette tapes. And I kind of put myself in the position like, how did everyone feel when this came out, aside from the source, who was the only outlet at the time who reviewed this and made it the number 35, but also gave it 3.5 mics. I want to like talk to those older people who heard this album for the first time and was like, you know what, Common is my favorite rapper. This guy just made the book of everything. The whole trajectory of my life is from this album. Like, this album changed my life, you know? So it's just cool how even though this was his second album, it still has it's that good resource to use when you want to know Common's career, but how much he's grown, right? And you can go back to this and see that Common has still remained the same, and that's what I love about him. And on top of that, he's fine, right? He's so fine. But anyway, that's it. Like I said, guys, I hope you all join me on March. Me and Dalen and Dominique, and I want to call him Dominic so bad. Me, Dalen, Dominique, and Holly on March 26th at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. on my IG Live for the I Used to Love Her, the Changing Faces of Hip Hop IG Live panel. We're going to have such a great time, and I'm so excited for this event. And maybe, just maybe, this will turn into an end of the month series where I just, bring on more speakers at a time. I don't know. I tend to burn myself out, so we'll see. But for the most part, I'm excited to launch that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this new music, old music Friday flashback, whatever. Tap in every Friday on blackvision.com, BLQVISION, and follow me at BLQVISION_ to get all your latest music updates, upcoming panels, upcoming IG lives, and even new posts. I have a new post coming out this Friday. And then on March 23rd, the week of the IG live that I Used to Love Her panel, I will be giving honor to one of my favorite MCs, MF Doom. I know I had announced it a while ago, but actually feel like it's more fitting to drop it on March 23rd, being that it's the 10-year anniversary of Mad Villain? Mad Villainy? Mad Villain? No. No, yeah, Mad, is it? Maybe it's not the 10-year anniversary, but I know that's his birthday. So, yeah, look out for that. This Monday I have another piece coming out. So, we just got a lot of stuff coming out in March. So, yeah, keep in touch. Stay tuned. If you, like, just have any questions about hip-hop, or if you want to talk about hip-hop, hit me up. You know where to find me. Anyway, y'all, have a good weekend. Have a great Friday. Be safe. This pandemic is almost over. Keep your mask on even if you have the vaccine. And if you aren't getting the vaccine, such as like myself, just stay masked up. You know, it's almost over. All right? Peace.